Melinda Roth lectures at the George Washington University and walked through the anti-Israel encampments and was horrified. She decided to write an open letter, her thoughts per se, which no doubt put her at odds with many of her colleagues. But what a brave woman to call out what she saw. Some lines from it include, "Instead of hanging out in your nice brand new paid from unknown sources green and white tents, why not send them to those displaced in Gaza who really need them? After all, you have dorms and apartments that mummy and daddy are paying for right now." She goes on, "If you are skipping classes, why not go volunteer to help in Gaza? Many American Jews have gone to help in Israel on farms and kibbutzes." So true. Look, I'm pleased to say that Professor Melinda Roth joins me now. Professor, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I'd love to know why you decided to essentially write down your thoughts.
So I teach at George Washington University Law School, and the encampment there represented about 8 universities, and it was adjacent to the law school. So it was very disruptive. My students were actually taking their exams with chanting and drumming and all sorts of noise. So exams had to be relocated. And I went to the campus to pick up my exams to grade, which, by the way, I still have many to grade. And I walked through the encampment, and I was sort of stunned. What I saw was really anything but peaceful. I was really appalled. I was horrified. There were signs and chants that were, I felt, grossly inappropriate for a peaceful protest, which should be about innocent deaths in a war which most people want to stop. And I went home and I wrote down my thoughts, and it's been fantastic that they have resonated with so many people and that it's gone viral enough to, I think, allow other people to speak out at what they're seeing as well.
Look, I agree with you entirely. I think when you do things like this in such a powerful way, you enable other people to do the exact same thing. You inspire them, so to speak, make them feel safe. Look, there are so many parts of your letter I'd love to go through. I don't have time. But one of your suggestions is that these people, these students, go to Gaza themselves and actually do something useful. I'd love to know if any of them have contacted you and indicated they might take you up on that offer.
You know, I would love to clarify that, because I did say that in sort of a tongue-in-cheek way, where I don't really expect people to put themselves in the middle of a war zone and in harm's way. But what they're doing in these protests isn't helping the people that they are professing to support. And so that's my larger point. I mean, I have spent most of my adult life working in impoverished and war-torn countries. And so my suggestion that they go was more a suggestion that they do something that is actually helpful. So I don't know that anyone's going to take me up on it, on the offer, to answer your question, Erin, but it certainly would be a way for them to help in a way that they're just not doing right now.
You point out something that is really powerful, in that really the whole point, they say, of their protest is to stop the killing of innocent people, and yet the slogans and the things they are chanting are essentially calling for that exact same thing, but on the other side. Like, it makes no sense.
I think you're exactly right, and that's one of the things that I have tried to stress, is that it's inconsistent to be protesting on behalf of the, deaths of, whether it's women and children or just innocent people, it doesn't matter. But there's not a single sign, a single chant, a single demand to release the hostages. And if you would protest into trying to get these hostages released, which, by the way, include 5 Americans, there is a good chance that if the hostages were released and those that were killed in captivity, their bodies were returned, and Hamas surrendered, this war would be over, and we could all go about building bridges and, making whatever Gaza's future is no longer war-torn and hopefully economically and safe for all.
Melinda, finally, what was the reception like from your colleagues in particular? Because as we all know, universities aren't exactly renowned for their support of, say, well, to put it bluntly, things that are reasonable and make sense.
I want to say that I have had tremendous support from students that I have taught, but also just students at both my law school and at the George Washington University, and from students around the country. On the faculty side, I think it's a very tough question to answer. There has been some faculty support. I have received some faculty support, but I think at the same time, there is a feeling that academia has been infiltrated. And one of the reasons why we've seen the rise of anti-Semitism is that there's so many people in positions that are using their classrooms to indoctrinate people of their own beliefs rather than teaching students to critically think. And so it's been inspiring to have the support that I've had, and I have the ability to use my voice to be on shows like this, or to get a message across that, hate is bad, war is bad. Let's all hope for peace, and let's all try to remember that that thing that we learned when we were very little about loving thy neighbor and treating people kindly, and not having hate in our hearts. And that's really what my message is meant to say.
Well, I'm going to use your words again and end this segment probably on my favourite part of your letter, and it reads like this: "You are not on the right side of history like you think you will be. No one with hate in their heart ever is." Melinda Roth, thank you so much for A, using your words and your position so bravely, and B, joining me here on Erin.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and I really appreciate your time.